Yo, 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 what is up, everybody? This is Kyle and Mike from the Fantasy Phenom. Back to break down today's 6-game slate. For NBA. I should clarify now. For NBA.
Yep, the good old association. We are getting down to the nitty-gritty here, the regular season. And, if you guys watched yesterday's show, I was just talking to Kyle about this. I knew the Spurs weren't going to want to play their starters. I didn't realize that they were just going to play their third-string guys. But really kind of screwed my Mills Deadman call. I apologize if you were on that. I had the right mindset. I didn't realize it was going to be like that.
Wrong
But yeah, Bryn
yeah.
Forbes, 28 minutes for him. Goodness.
How many games are left, Mike?
I don't know. I think probably like 5 or 6 games. Nothing. Playing DFS every day, it's hard to keep track sometimes.
Right. Not a lot. Not a lot of games left. So. 6 games today.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how
6
many.
games today. Obviously, the only real back-to-backs we have going on is Boston, I believe, and I think it's just Boston.
I believe you're right.
So, as far as front end of back-to-backs,
JC said about 4 games left. So.
Okay.
4 games until shit
right.
calms down and you can actually start playing like you did in the beginning with, safety in playoffs because you know who's going to be playing.
As far as minutes-wise, safety, yeah. As far as front ends of back-to-backs, Atlanta is on the front end of a back-to-back. The Knicks are on the front end of a back-to-back. And Minnesota is on the front end of a back-to-back. So, if you buy in any of that, obviously we have to talk about that type of stuff with all the resting going on. So,
I don't know if it matters so much with Minnesota, right? I mean, they're out of the playoffs.
Yeah, no.
They've continued to do what they do. So Minnesota, not really worried about. Boston on a back-to-back on the back end of it. I don't think they still technically can get that number 1 seed, right? They're only a half game or a game back. Cleveland obviously owns a tiebreaker, but Cleveland hasn't shown the ability to exactly win out.
Yeah, they absolutely can.
So Boston's probably going to keep playing. Atlanta is still fighting for their playoff seeding. Who's the other team you said was on a front end?
Atlanta is.
Okay. So, yeah.
And then Minnesota, Atlanta, and I think that's it.
Solid.
As far as Atlanta is concerned, I mean, they have a bunch of guys listed as probable to play. Millsap, Delaney, Bazemore, Hardaway. Probable just means, again, they've been listed on the injury report, so I guess they are dealing with an injury, but they're still going to play. That might come into consideration as far as minutes when you're talking about they're playing Cleveland tomorrow. They play Boston today, 2 pretty good teams, so maybe we see some bench guys get into the mix if the games get out of hand with these guys dealing with nagging stuff.
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised at all if game gets out of hand. You'll definitely see both teams probably throw in the bench earlier than usual.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right. Well, John Wall is your highest price point guard today, 10.5, 99 on DraftKings. Going against New York, Derrick Rose obviously done for the year. Gets a little Ron Baker defense.
Ronnie B of the Shakas.
Wichita.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at studs on the slate, it's Wall and Towns and Giannis and Butler. I think out of the 4, I am leaning Butler because Rondo is listed as out. There's no Dwayne Wade.
Yeah.
They're going up against Philly. Philly just gave up 140 points to Brooklyn. So just to me, it makes me feel like, and I don't really think, without Rondo, I don't really see the Bulls like just blowing them out, on the road. So I think this game stays close enough to get Butler playing point guard and shooting guard and small forward. And
so you're saying Philly's not a good defense?
Yeah, they've pretty much given up since Embiid left. But yeah, I think him and Towns are the 2 guys that stand apart. I don't know why I'm just not really on Wall today against New York. just doesn't seem like he needs to do much.
For them to win, yeah.
Yeah, obviously it's a good matchup, but we're talking an overall upside with the studs on the slate. I don't know. Just not feeling it.
Dame against Minnesota. I like that. Obviously, Portland is in a big battle for that 8 seed. Just lost to Utah a couple games ago.
Yeah, it's like I think they have the seed by like half a game right now.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, Dame's been going off. I mean, other than the Utah game where they got blown out, he's just been 40-point floor every night, every night. They played Minnesota not too long ago, I believe.
Did well.
Let's see, 25th, 40. I think him and CJ both did well. I think you can go back there. No problems at all with that. However, you have a bunch of guys in that. You don't have anybody in that area at between 7. You go down. The next lowest guy is Schroeder. The next highest guy is Giannis on DraftKings. So, from an ownership perspective, I think you might be able to just pay to CJ and get the same amount for cheaper today.
Isaiah Thomas against Atlanta. I do like this matchup going against Atlanta. However, Isaiah, I don't know.
Oh yeah, Isaiah's in that range. So do you like Isaiah or Dame? I mean,
I go Dame.
I think I lean Isaiah, to be honest with you.
No,
Again, I just always like to go against Atlanta. But like we said earlier, this game could get out of hand. So
I just like Dame because I think the floor is higher right now.
Mm-hmm. No, you're right. It is. If you look at what he's been doing, it's hard to pass it up.
Elf against Brooklyn, absolutely in play. I really like him today. We saw what he did, two, three games ago against Brooklyn. So.
Yeah, he had triple-double in that game. You can go right back there, man. You really could. 7,700 is definitely steep, but on a 6-game slate, it's not steep enough to take you off of him. And again, I think by going Elf, you probably will. If you want Butler, if you're locking in Butler like I am, I think you have to choose between Elfrid Payton, Dame Lillard, and Isaiah Thomas. I don't think you can get 2 of those guys with Butler.
No, that's fair.
You might.
Depends on value that either opens up or.
And there is a good bit of value on this slate, so you definitely probably could, actually, now that I think about it.
You got T against Milwaukee. I mean, you got to look there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's cheap too, but I still feel like I should just play Lin over Teague just for the game.
Someone said fuck West. Yeah, West didn't do anything.
Yeah. That was an ugly game. But yeah, I like Lin. I think he's pretty solid floor ceiling kind of guy. I don't like the price on him. I think the Teague is underpriced, Lin is overpriced. But I still lean playing the game instead of matchup.
And then Brogdon's out, Rose is out, Rondo's out, Sergio's not back yet.
Nope. TJ McConnell's probably one of the safer cash plays on this entire slate. If you're still playing cash, 35 minutes a game, last 5, 30 DK points a game, last 5. Lowest was 27 at 6K. I think that's solid value.
I think TJ's the lowest I go to in terms of point guards. I don't think I go to Dinwiddie, Jennings. Maybe Jennings, actually. Jennings going back to New York, and if that game gets out of hand.
See, I kind of like Dinwiddie just because, just if Sean Kilpatrick doesn't play, he's currently listed as questionable with a hamstring tightness.
Okay.
And Dinwiddie's going to get the minutes at shooting guard. If Kilpatrick's out off the bench. Obviously, you'll get some increased run for Randy Foye, who decides to go off sometimes, but not very often. And I think Dinwiddie, if you look at what he's been doing lately, is he even listed as a point guard anymore?
Dinwiddie is, yeah.
Where is he at?
At least on FanDuel, he's point guard.
Trying to find him.
But I like Jennings. Probably is my favorite punt, and you're kind of banking on a blowout and or a significant run because remember Washington starters play a ton of minutes, so if the game's close, Washington starters are going to get a ton of the run.
So weird. I don't know why I can't find him. Search his name. There he is, 3,700. Yeah. Small forward now on DraftKings.
Interesting.
What? Wait, what? That's got to be a mistake, dude. I know they've been playing some Whitehead, Lynn, and Dinwiddie rotations, but not enough to categorize him as a small forward. That's not right. Anyway, yeah, I think if Whitehead doesn't play, he's in play. Again, value at point guard. I think you can look at. I think you can look at Ron Baker. I'm not going to play him, but I mean he's getting big minutes and he's been putting up points in those minutes, like for safe value, I guess. Obviously, with Rondo out, they said they're starting Jerry and Grant against Philly, minimum salary.
Yep.
But then again, I mean, we've seen many games where he's started and played 15 minutes, and he's coming off of like 3 straight games under 10 minutes. So
Josiah asked, "What about MCW?" I think you can look there.
That's where I was getting to. So he's been the backup point guard to Rondo pretty much since Rondo's become the starter.
Yep.
He'll probably stay the backup point guard to Grant, but probably play more minutes than Grant today. I think you'll probably see some Cameron Payne minutes. They recalled him from the D-League, so he might get under 10. If I had to guess, I'm thinking 18 for Grant, 24 for Carter Williams, 8 for Payne, or something like that, you know? But they're all minimum salary.
Mentioned Giannis. He's 10K, so cheaper than Wall and FanDuel. 100 cheaper on DraftKings against Indiana. I don't think I'd go there. I actually like Wall over Giannis today. You got Beal against New York. Prices 7.5. I mean, that's kind of where it's been the last couple games. I can see that. CJ McCollum, I like him more than Beal, and he's cheaper. So I definitely go there. Bradley, huge disappointment yesterday too.
I think I totally agree. I think I'm $6,900 for CJ, $300 cheaper than Bradley Beal. He just kind of had the track record against Minnesota this season. DVP last 10 supports that decision. And Beal, I guess he's due for a break at like a Beal game, you know. He hasn't had a 40-point game in his last 6, so. And only twice in his last 10. So he's probably due. I mean, I'm not really scared off of New York, but again, I don't know. I think I'd rather go CJ, like you said.
And then Bradley, obviously a letdown. I think you can look at Smart.
Yeah, no one's going to be on Bradley today in a good spot if you're into it.
Yeah, Fournier against Brooklyn, good spot, but it's a matter of if he gets the shots. You got Hardaway Jr. is probable. I don't play him against Bradley. TLC, I think he's too expensive.
Yeah, he's really expensive. That's crazy to look at him. I don't see him being a 5,600 player, but then you look at what he's done last 5. He's averaging 30 DraftKings points. So, yeah, I mean, it's there. He went off against Brooklyn. He went off against Toronto. So he put together 5 solid straight performances, 30-plus big minutes, actually. So he's going to play big minutes. This is not a bad matchup for him. If you look at like what he's been doing shot percentage-wise to see if it's like, you know, maybe he's just on a hot streak, there's nothing there that's too crazy. He's been shooting mid 40%, so that's not – I mean, that's sustainable in a sense.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's an interesting call. Kind of just depends on lineup construction, but yeah, I agree. He's a little bit overpriced.
You got Monte against Milwaukee. I think I stay away there. Courtney Lee, I think got to look there for minutes. You mentioned Kilpatrick is questionable. That puts LeVert in play, I think, as well.
Yeah, I think it's some extra minutes. It benefits Dinwiddie the most, but then LeVert, some McDaniels, obviously they're gonna get a bit of a bump.
LeVert gets a minutes bump, but Dinwiddie gets obviously the increased minutes, but LeVert is the better player. And when you take Kilpatrick out of there, that removes a shooter.
Yeah, the thing is that I don't know that Kilpatrick and LeVert have shared the floor a lot. You know, LeVert's their starting small forward, and Kilpatrick has been their backup shooting guard. So I think it just directly, like, I don't know. Again, I think if Kilpatrick's out, I'm thinking Dinwiddie. I mean, LeVert, he's always in play in a tournament for his price, for sure. But it's hard to pinpoint.
Yeah.
Another value guy.
Stauskas.
Another value guy I'm looking at is again Justin Holiday. He's been one of those guys that you it's just tough to play,
Yep, Justin Holiday.
But targeting this shooting guard spot
He's super
on
cheap.
Washington.
Alec Crabbe, obviously against Minnesota, always a tournament play, and then I think you can still look at Nick Stauskas.
Stauskas, yep, he's 4,400 with Gerald Henderson back. He's taken a bit of a minutes bump. Also with TLC playing high 30s in minutes, it's kind of hurt him as well. So I'm curious. I mean, you got Fournier and TLC. I think are both solid plays. Fournier's probably fairly priced. TLC's overpriced, but they're the same price. So I'm curious to see where the ownership goes. They're both in good matchups. And I think Bradley's going to go under-owned in comparison to the two of them for only $300 more on DraftKings.
Yep. What's up, everybody? Glenn's finally
What's going on, guys?
Live.
We're here. We're talking about it.
All right, Jimmy Butler. I think I agree with you. I like him the most out of any of the studs. 99 on FanDuel, 97 on DraftKings, cheaper than both Giannis and.
Yeah, I was using Basketball Monsters on-off tool today, and you take Rondo off the court. Like when Rondo's off the court, in the games that Rondo's been starting recently, when he's off the court, Butler's averaging almost 2 DraftKings points per minute.
Wow,
which is unreal. Yeah, I like Butler today, guys. That's the guy I'm going to go with. I don't know what the ownership will be on that, but it seems like a safe spot for Butler. Hopefully.
Hopefully. He's cheaper, and I think, I agree, better spot than the other two. Paul George, 9,100. I think that's obviously has to do with a shorter slate as well, but he's up to 89 on DraftKings. He was 81 before that. Where do you look?
Yeah, he's definitely, if you're making multiple lineups, is an easy pivot off of Butler, So if you're playing 5, I could see dropping down to him in 1 and going contrarian. Or if you're playing 3 even, playing your favorite plays and then having a contrarian lineup to hedge your bet a bit. He would be one of the guys I'd look at. If you look at what he's been doing lately, it's pretty impressive. Over the last 5 games, he's averaging 56 DraftKings points with a low score of 40. He's hit 70. He's hit 60. I mean, this dude's been. Obviously, that 70 was in the double overtime game, but dude's been going off. In the 3 games versus Milwaukee this season, 36.5. So that would not get you value, but that was not during this stretch. So, it's definitely someone I'm considering. I like Butler more. So
Covington's out. Wiggins against Portland. I think you got to look there. That'll be obviously a play that is. I don't think a lot of people will be on.
Yeah, no one will be on that.
Carmelo against Washington. No, thank you. Chris Middleton against Indiana is someone I am looking at. And we talk about how much Indiana gives up threes. Chris Middleton can exploit that. We saw DeMar Carroll exploit it, so I like Chris Middleton today.
Yeah, I think he's a little too cheap for this spot. I like Chris Middleton as well. I like him over Crowder or
Porter.
Porter in that price.
I don't know that you can even play Porter right now, man.
Him and Keith Morris, man.
The minutes are not there. It's just.
Both of their prices have dropped almost 2K in the past couple of weeks. So, Wiggins is interesting, though. I think him and Paul George, I definitely took a long look at because I knew that people were not going to gravitate toward them. And you look at what Wiggins been doing, it's pretty nice. I mean, big minutes no matter what, unless it's a big blowout. And he's been getting you a pretty solid floor. We haven't really seen the big upside game, but who's to say it doesn't happen against Portland? He just dropped 35 against Portland, 29 real-life points. So, I don't know. I don't know. I think 7K on a 6-game slate for Wiggins is something to look at, but again, I haven't really done much lineup construction. So
I think I look at Rondae Hollis-Jefferson as well, and then Taurean Prince is in play.
Yep. I think Prince is definitely a play. I think the DVP, they have Prince and Bays at the small forward spot at the top DVP on the slate for small forwards against Boston over the last 10 games. So that's why I took an extra look there. 4,600 for him is pretty fair if you look at last 5 games.
And he's even cheaper on FanDuel.
But then again, you also got to look at who he's been playing. So the last 4 games were Brooklyn, Chicago, Philadelphia, and Phoenix, and Brooklyn. Those are the last 5 games. So pretty poor teams there. So maybe you can't really look at last 5 of this guy, or even any of the Boston guys. I mean, Atlanta guys.
No, that's fair. And then Terrence Ross, lastly, I think you can always look there. His price never changes. Justin Anderson, obviously.
Is he 4,500 on FanDuel still?
43 now. Actually went down.
That's pretty good.
Justin Anderson, obviously the start, and then Kelly Oubre is probably the lowest I'd look.
So, guys, on FanDuel, Alex Polithris' minimum salary, I was pissed at DraftKings because it must have been oversight. He wasn't on the slate last game, the last time Philly played. Like, I wanted to play him because I watched that Philly game, and I saw that they gave him extra run, and he looked good.
Isn't that the kid from Kentucky?
Kentucky. Yeah, he played 4 years at Kentucky, which is like a miracle. Yeah, no, they brought him up with the NBA gave the Sixers an exemption with all their injuries, and they brought him up. And if you look at what he's done these 2 games, I'll show. So he's 2 games with the Sixers so far. He's 4K on DraftKings, 3,500 on FanDuel. 28 minutes against Brooklyn, 24 minutes against Toronto. Averaging a little over 20 DraftKings points. So 4K, I don't know that's worthy of a punt against Chicago and Jimmy Butler. I don't know, I just wanted to express my discontent with DraftKings for not having him on the last slate. Because he went off against Brooklyn. Minimum salary, though, on FanDuel could be something to look at. Justin Anderson, I don't know about that. Mo Harkless, though, I think I could get behind some Mo Harkless today. Under 4,000 on DraftKings. He just dropped 35 against Minnesota 3 days ago. And he had 35 against Houston, but I think pretty sure everybody had 35 against Houston in that game. I don't know. Something to look at under 4K. I think that's a solid value guy. Lance Stevenson? No. Dinwiddie as a small forward, I guess. Yeah, gotta look there. It's crazy.
Looking at power forward, Kristaps, I believe he's questionable.
He didn't play last game. Maurice Indoor played 38 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So, brought him off the street to give him a slap on the butt and say, get going there, bro.
Saric is going to be on a minutes limit the rest of the year. You got Holmes.
Yeah, Saric. That's kind of why Polithris and Justin Anderson have been splitting time. Where is
Holmes.
Indoor? 3,700 on DraftKings.
38 on FanDuel.
I'm sorry, 33 minutes, not 38. But he had 36 DraftKings points and a double-double against Chicago. I mean, we target power forwards against Wizards, right? I mean, if this guy's going to play 33 minutes at 3,700, I think he's got to be in play.
I agree with you.
But betting on him playing 33 minutes again
is sketchy.
Is sketch.
Yeah. I agree. Kiefer Porter will ruin your lineup before the damn lock. Yeah, they're just not getting run.
Dude, Kiefer Porter will ruin your damn lineup all season long. There was a small stretch of time where Markieff Morris was fantasy relevant, and then he wasn't anymore.
He wasn't. Gorgie Dang against Portland. I look there absolutely. Aaron Gordon against
like
Brooklyn.
That.
Aaron Gordon.
What's his price on FanDuel?
5,600.
Gorgie.
5,600.
Yeah, that's a solid price going up against this limited front court in Portland. It's going to probably be big minutes.
Yep.
I think he's another really good cash play.
I like Gorgie. Aaron Gordon, obviously I like against Brooklyn. Ilyasova, I don't think so.
Not with Millsap back at 5,100. It's too much. So I'm gonna go ahead and say that Bobby Portis outscores Nikola Mirotic again today. And I think you got to look at this spot.
Yeah,
Again,
Mirotic is
power
almost.
forwards.
He's up to 6K.
Power forwards against Philadelphia, especially when we saw Robin Lopez couldn't do anything against Philly.
Yeah.
Both of those guys did well, right?
Bobby Portis, I think,
And
played better in that game too.
Yeah, I think he did. I think they both played well though. At 3,900 for Portis, if people are going to be all over indoor for no reason, just because
Last game
of one game, same price. I don't know. I just feel like this is one of the games that Portis, without Rondo, I feel like. I don't know. For some reason, I feel like Rondo and Mirotic have had correlation. Since Rondo and Mirotic have both been in the starting lineup, it seems like that's been a click. Maybe without Rondo, Mirotic doesn't get the click, and he's not hitting his shots, and they just decide to put him on the bench. Because they do that a lot.
Brian says, I think the Gordon, Dang, and Aminu group may keep people off of cheaper gambles.
Gordon, Dang, and Aminu. Aminu at 5K. I wasn't looking there. Let's check it out. Averaging 30 points. Or I'm sorry, he's averaging, 30 points over the last 6 games. I like that. And had 44 against Minnesota. I like that as well. So, good call on Aminu at 5K. That's pretty cheap. I think you save $1,100 off Gorgie Jang on DraftKings.
Yeah.
By going there. Who was the other guy he said?
Dang and Gordon. 2 we talked about.
Oh, Gordon.
Yeah.
Aaron Gordon. Aaron Gordon, man, he's another one.
That's what I said.
I wonder what's going to happen.
Against Brooklyn, I like it.
I think you got to like it. I mean, you just had 50 against Brooklyn. I don't know, man. I think going to Fournier and saving some money might be a sneaky route.
And again, it's literally, it seems like only one of those two will do well, right? The other one is going to take shots from the other.
And I know Gordon just had 55 points against Brooklyn, but generally speaking, I'd rather play a shooting guard against Brooklyn than a power forward. I don't know. I like Hollis Jefferson. I like the craftiness of him and Booker. I don't know.
Something to think about.
I like both. But if you want to play the ownership game,
Mm-hmm. Karl Anthony Towns against Portland. You got to look there.
Yeah, Towns has got me in a conundrum today, guys. Because is there enough value to play Towns, Butler, and a top point guard?
Probably.
I don't know.
Comfortably? Probably not, but yeah.
And I've been burned by Towns a couple times in recent memory. Actually, one of those games was against Portland. I'm looking at it. The 25th, he only put up 21 DraftKings points in 31 minutes. Again, Nurkic was a factor. That won't be a factor today. I could get behind Towns, obviously. I think on this slate, you have to really lock and fade him and make that decision because, again, there's really not much high-price options.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of quality value, in my opinion.
What about Vucevic down to 8,100?
Yeah, originally I just wanted to play Vooch and Brook Lopez, just play them against each other.
Yeah.
That's what I just started my lineup. I think I did that the other day,
I
actually.
like Brook Lopez today. Again.
I played them both. They both went off, and I was watching the game, a happy little guy, So, maybe I'm biased, from watching that game and being happy the whole time that they both went off. But I don't know, I'm going to bet on Brook Lopez just so I can see him become player of the game and do a post-game interview.
Here we go.
Telling you guys, if you haven't watched Brook Lopez speak in public, it's totally worth it. It's totally worth a YouTube search. I call him Lurch.
Lurch.
We should just call him by Lurch for the rest of the year. It's only 4 games.
Do we break the rule of playing a center against Philadelphia, or do we go back to Robin Lopez?
Again, it could be biased here because I played Robin Lopez last time, and he totally destroyed my lineup. And that was like a really solid lineup. I think I still cashed with him in it, too. and I was pissed. I was pissed. He was that dude that destroyed my lineup. Robin Lopez comes in at 4.9, which is somewhat of an unwarranted price rise.
It's because of the
$400 price. Yeah, I guess so. $400 price rise after putting up 22 against New York in 34 minutes. I don't know that that's warranted. So, I mean, we're not getting him at a premium. Last time he played Philly, he was at 4,200. Oh, here we go. 4 DraftKings points. Oh, he had 1 point and 1 rebound. Oh, and 1 block. Sorry, Robin. Yeah, he just couldn't hit a shot. He was 0 for 6 from the field. It really wasn't. I mean, I don't know what happened there, to be honest with you. It was the game after the Toronto debacle.
He got suspended and then came back. That was his first
game. If you think maybe that plays into it, and maybe he was like feeling some type of way about Serge that day. Maybe people were like talking trash to him and he couldn't handle it. I mean, seriously.
No, I know.
I could totally see him being a crybaby. I mean, his brother's a huge crybaby. Anyway, yeah, it could be some bias, but my centers I like Vooch and Lopez. I think you have to, right? You gotta like Vooch and Lopez. Towns, obviously, if I can afford him and still like my lineup, I'm gonna try to.
Here's a guy I think we're overlooking is Dwight Howard against Boston.
Yeah, I was gonna just say Dwight Howard and Al Horford, though. 2 guys that are gonna go overlooked today that I think are worthy.
Yeah. So.
Howard on the front end of a back-to-back. Obviously, if you buy in anything like that with this game being a blowout and them sitting him down, maybe he's not worthy of that price tag. Also, again, we got to look at Indiana, right? Indiana has become a streaming spot for centers, just game after game here. Milwaukee. Do we play Greg Monroe at 4,800 today?
I think we do. I think you look at it.
He's been he's not going to play 30 minutes. That's for damn sure. They make sure of that.
I don't like him on FanDuel at 57, but
yeah, I mean 4,800, the same price as Robin Lopez, or $100 cheaper than Robin Lopez. I think you're also going to have some people chasing Kyle O'Quinn's points at 4,900. So there could be some ownership spread out in between these 3 guys, and I know the tournament players will be running to get some Monroe with this DVP at that depressed price. However, if you look into it, Thon Maker has been getting run. Still minimum salary. And he, in his last 3 games, minutes-wise, 24, 20, and 25. And he returned value in all 3 of those games. One of which was a 30-point performance. So, could be a punt there. I also think you could go back to Mahinmi against New York, 3,100.
Yep, no, that's true. Especially if you want to look at it from a blowout standpoint.
He burned a lot of people last game, including myself. Against Charlotte.
Continues to burn people.
So, I think again, tournament player. If you want to punt center, I think Mahinmi, perhaps Jason Smith, who's center eligible with Markieff Morris. He's been listed as questionable. He was listed as questionable 2 days ago against Charlotte. Ended up playing 21 minutes, and Jason Smith ended up really getting a lot of run at backup center and power forward. Ended up with 30 DraftKings points in that game. So, I don't know. Who do you like more, Mahinmi or Smith, if you were going to punt that center spot against New York?
I think Mahinmi GPP Smith is the cash play, as weird as that sounds, just because he gets minutes.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I think if Porzingis plays, I like this matchup for Smith.
Yeah.
I don't see Porzingis really being a guy that, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but there's definitely some value guy. I mean, we haven't even talked about Noah Vonleh without Nurkic. Has been doing work as well. I mean, obviously he didn't do anything against Utah, but neither did anybody on.
Yeah, it's Utah.
Yeah. Myers Leonard, I don't think I'd go there.
I'd rather go Vonleh than Leonard.
Biyombo, for what it's worth, looked terrible against Brooklyn the other day. He just got run off the floor. So for that reason, I kind of like Trevor Booker because if that same sort of game script happens today and he doesn't have Biyombo on the second team, Trevor Booker just owned that second team in that game. I know he's not going to – if you're looking at that last game and say, oh, man, he just went out and had 35 points. He also shot 11 of 12 from the field and only played 24 minutes. So I think but at 4,100, I think you can comfortably expect 20 points from Booker today with some upside.
So he'll hit 5x.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's fair.
Solid value. Again, for these reasons, guys, it could be a tricky slate. I mean, all of these slates are somewhat tricky in the NBA right now. So seemingly the studs are all in pretty good spots. There's a lot of value. There's not much not to like on the slate, right? I mean, what spots do we not like?
There's not really a game that I think you write off.
Yeah, especially Vegas has Boston a 1.5 favorite in Atlanta. That seems way too small.
Yeah, for the way they've been playing. For the way Atlanta's been playing, I should say. Although Millsap is back, so I guess you have to factor that in, but...
Yeah, if anything, I was thinking, fading Indiana's studs, Teagan, George, maybe even fading that game. But you can make a case for all these games today.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think either game is really, I don't think you write off any game today.
Exactly, and that's what makes this slate somewhat tricky. So, again, trust your gut on this value. I just mentioned a whole bunch of guys. What I would do is I would pick four value guys, right? And I would try to have one line with 3 and one line with 3, That's how I would kind of play this slate and see what you get. If you end up with too much money to spend and you're just playing studs to play studs because you have the money, maybe reevaluate and play 2 value guys, because playing studs just because you have the money to
doesn't always mean
it's the right way to go.
Anything else to add? I mean, I don't know. I feel like the slate almost seems kind of tricky. I guess the hardest part, it definitely feels like a stars and scrubs lineup today, but you can make a case for balance, but you're going to kind of have to pick your spots.
Yeah, I mean, especially because Brooklyn-Orlando seems like a juicy game. So does Chicago and Philly. I think those are the 2 juiciest games in the slate. And there is only one stud in Jimmy Butler in between those 2 games, right?
Yep.
So there's definitely going to be some mid-range guys in there. We talked about Gordon, we talked about Fournier, we talked about Elf, we talked about Lopez, Vooch. Then on Philly, I mean, there's some value there, value in Chicago. I don't know. Again, I think if you go stars and scrubs, you're avoiding this Brooklyn-Orlando game because everybody in that game's in the mid-range,
That's true.
Except for Elf.
That is true. But I think you can still play Elf with that value or with the mid-range.
Brian's saying only 4. I'm saying you can only play 4 values in your lineup. I'm not saying there's only 4 values on the slate. Obviously, you're not going to play 6 values in your lineup. That's just you just don't do that. I was saying you find out of this pool of values. Like right now, I have listed 15 guys. So out of these 15 guys I have listed, I'm going to try and narrow it down to 4. Is what I was saying.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're playing like 30 lineups, then maybe you get exposure to all these guys, but I'm certainly not doing that.
Fair point. So
no lock show today, guys. So fire up some questions on Twitter if you want to get at me with one-offs.
That, and we will be in Slack all day, obviously.
That too, yeah.
But yeah, so we'll be back about 30 to 40 minutes, and we'll hit up a baseball show. Not exactly a lock show, but we'll break down the main slate, which is really only 4 games. So might even aim for 1:30 because we don't really need an hour and a half to talk about 4 games.
Mm-hmm.
So probably aim for 1:30. We'll talk about that main slate, and then we'll be out. So
all right, guys. Best of luck today. Again, hit me up with any questions you have closer to lock as this news solidifies itself. All right.
All right.
Y'all have a good one.